Welcome everybody to the Lunchtime Chats with a-ok, and we're very privileged this afternoon to be able to have Helen Cossey from Kaitaia to kind of share a little bit about what's all happening in Kaitaia and how we could possibly help them. So welcome Helen to the a-ok Lunchtime Chats. It's so lovely to be able to have you today.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Awesome. And so Helen, maybe you might want to just give us a bit of a insight, or a little bit of might want to draw a bit of a picture around the beauty of Kaitaia, and just give it a bit of a description, a little bit about yourself, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, Helen Cossey is my name. I was born and raised in Kaitaia, and I've been away a few times and I always come back. I lived in Thailand for a while, and people go there for the beautiful beaches, but I still don't think that they compare to ours. So yeah, and my students, when I was teaching, came back to New Zealand, they said, why did you come back? And I just said, well, why not? I mean, we live in this amazing place.
Yeah.
And I think that's the view of a lot of our young people up here. Kaitaia there's not a lot going for it and everything, but there's a lot going for it. There's some amazing people in this town. There are some we've got amazing beaches. There's projects popping up everywhere. We've got amazing entrepreneurs. If you ever come up here, we've got an amazing Saturday market with lots of stuff happening, and there's a lot happening in the education field. I work for North Tech as a navigator, so working with students every day, and can totally tell you, that education changes lives, and it changes the lives of so many people. But yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, Helen. And it's lovely to hear some of the exciting stuff that's happening in Kaitaia. And you're quite right. It is entrepreneurial. It is creative. It is innovative. It is very colourful when you do drive through.
Yep.
So it's good to be able to hear that. And I guess our relationship with you, Helen, with a-ok kind of goes back a few years now, because you started with us when you were hunting for suicide prevention programs.
Yep.
And I think you did the Safe Talk and you did the Assist training
Yep.
with us.
Yes.
And I know you've shared on a couple of occasions the times where you've had to use some of those skills within your own work, and you found them quite useful.
Oh, absolutely. I think, my background was in teaching, and I've sort of fallen into this role of advisory and student support. And I've been doing this for about the last 12 years. And as time goes by, I guess if students feel comfortable, they start sharing things. And I've got the same with friends. People start, and there's often times you've got friends or people you know of who are going through stuff, and they'll come to me, and it's like, well, actually, I'm not a rescuer, but I want to help. And if they're asking for help, I want to know that the support, the advice, the guidance that I offer or suggest to them is going to be something that will help them stay safe and keep safe.
Yeah.
And recently, not even in the field of suicide, but I was really thankful to have had those thoughts coming into my head straight away. And it had been ages since I'd had a conversation with someone who was in a really bad situation, and I kept thinking, what can you do to make them safe for now? It's that whole thing, that being safe for now. We're not, and it was what we did in Assist, which is it's not up to us to fix them, to stop them, but it's about making them feel or get to a place where either physically or emotionally they're safe for now, so that the specialists and the proper support groups can come in. And that was something that really helped me in my conversation for those people, was like to say, well, what can we do? What can we put in place so that we can make sure you're safe for now, in whatever the context is? Because it's not just usable in suicidal thoughts. It's something if someone's physically being bullied or yeah,
Yeah.
lots. It's really broad way of doing it.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear that you've been able to use it outside of the suicide type conversations, that you could use it when somebody's just in a place of distress,
Mm,
and that those skills and that framework still enables that place of safety and those connections to keep that person moving through their issues in the coverage or context of safety. That's awesome. Thank you for that. And I guess that kind of, I guess some of the things that we really want to try and extract today is sort of what, what's sort of, what's the status for Kaitaia in terms of suicide and mental well-being, just so that we can have an idea around potential ways we could collaborate, or potential ways the rest of New Zealand who are hearing this might be able to say, hey, I'd like to try and do something in that space.
The status, I had to actually look up the statistics today, and we are a lot higher up here, and that's rate per thousand as well as the actual numbers. And we are significantly higher than, say, the Auckland DH. So I looked at the rates for the DHB, and there hasn't, physically, I don't think there has been a massive rise in the last couple of years. There has been, it's sort of, there hasn't, let's put it this way, there hasn't been a reduction in the number of suicides. But what I've seen happening is more people asking for help, and more people saying, hey, I'm not managing, or hey, I want to feel better about, I want to know more about what I can do to support or to help someone who might be suicidal or might have high anxiety or might be stressing out. And those conversations have been happening. And so a friend of mine, she wrote a book a couple of years ago after her brother passed away from suicide, and that has opened up conversations for her, like, and amongst others, and it was just a book of her poetry. There are a lot of social agencies in the far north. We've got 5 iwi groups up here, and I think someone told me a few years ago there were 42 helping agencies up here, which, they all think, but what I'd love to see is a lot more collaboration, and I think that is starting to happen. A lot more people are talking about let's collaborate, let's share resources, let's talk more. But because it's not an area in which I work particularly, I don't know the background, the ins and the outs. But my dream is to see the conversation around mental health and mental wellness being normalised. And that's why I talk about it a lot. Just trying to encourage, and that's where I think maybe we need to look at more, like with what's happening today. Charles is doing.
With the Life Walks, Life Talks campaign, which is super cool. Awesome. And it's great to hear that there are, like, when you're calling out that there's over 42 community services that are operating to be able to provide those supports. That's hopeful, absolutely hopeful. And I think you've hit it on the head, where a lot of these bridges need to be built from the ground up. So a lot of these conversations need to be had at the ground level, at the mates within the workplaces, in the schools, amongst the students and the teachers, in the whānau. These conversations we need to have these conversations at those levels. And so I guess one of the benefits around being able to have a local trainer, because what Charles Mulibola is trying to do is he's trying to raise these funds so that we can use these funds to be able to train local and regional trainers within your region, so that mahi or that work continues. And what I'm hearing is there's a real need to be able to have these conversations at that level, whānau level, at the community level, so that if we need to escalate them to the community services, cool.
Yeah.
But would you agree that not everybody needs those services? Some people just need taringas. They just need to hear. They just need to be heard. They just need a heart.
Yeah, absolutely. It's they need to feel that someone out there cares about them, and it doesn't have to be a major like official thing. One of the cries, I've got friends who are teaching and friends and family who are going through teacher training now, and one of the things when they've spoken to me about the mental health stuff is I'm like, what's being put in. Now, I did my teacher training in 1990, and it sounds to me like there was next to no training around behaviour management, around coping with differences in class, and there was a little bit work around gifted students. We did some psych papers, so that gave you an understanding to how people think and how they tick. But there's nothing there, unless you actually took them as electives, there was really nothing particularly that helped you working with students who might struggle with domestic violence in the home, with drug use in the home, with their own being bullied by others, and there still seems to be now a real gap in teacher education and teacher support around providing them with the tools, because a teacher is the person that a young person is going to go to, because the person that they see most. So the disclosure, and I mean, I had disclosures and confidences shared by students when I was teaching, and it was difficult because you don't know what to do, because it's like, well, what do I do with this? And I really think it's a real important thing that there's a massive gap, there's a massive area within schools where teachers aren't equipped. And I don't mean that teachers have to do it, but hey, just to give them a few tools like safe talk or some of those types of things where they feel equipped to deal with it.
No, I totally agree with you. I totally agree. And I guess one of the benefits of having the range of programs that we have is that we're able to build a capacity we're able to enable helpers based on what their levels or their capacity of help is. And so you're right, from a teacher perspective, we are mindful teachers carry a lot. So it is about, okay, what helper capacity do you have? And so we do have a particular workshop for that. Same thing with the students. You know, they need to be informed as well, because it's likely that a young person is going to go to a young person first, and then it's like, okay, where to next? And so having that sort of promoted within schools is important, just like it is in workplaces, just like it is in whānau. So I love that you've hit it on the head, that we acknowledge the awesome work that our professional services and community services are doing. But in terms of collaboration, this is where those bridges from the community to those services need to be built, and just within the community themselves. Cool. So is there any particular initiatives that are happening in Kaitaia that you reckon we need to learn about, or we need to know about, just as maybe a encouragement to the rest of the regions?
There's lots of individual people doing lots of really cool individual stuff. We've got people who've been putting together food packages. The lockdowns have brought a lot of the struggles to the fore, and the needs up here, physical needs, housing needs, the emotional needs up here are really, really high at the moment. There's little groups out here that go to the skate bowl, and they do a barbie once a week. They're self-funded from what I understand. I don't know much about them, but they're working with young people who are not particularly either engaged at home or engaged at school. And so, you know, that could be a great capacity for having people who are skilled as helpers to be able to be there for that support. We've got another group which came out a number of years ago, which It's called Whiria Te Moka, and they work alongside in the realm of whānau violence, and
cool.
it's working at addressing violence at the roots, so going into the whānau, and then they're also checking in with people who've come through their books, either it's usually via the police, to make sure that they're getting the support that they need. And yes, different agencies are involved. So in the area of suicide prevention, I'm not particularly sure of anything that's really happening.
Okay.
I share the workshops, I share the newsletters all the time. I haven't been doing anything actively particularly, but I do share what I have available and the website as much.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, Helen. Thank you for doing that. And thank you for sharing some of that stuff. By the way, what was the name of the book that your friend wrote?
I think it's called The Long Cold Nights of June.
Oh, wow, what a cool title. The Long Cold Nights of June. Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
and her name's Debbie Correen, Cureen. Yeah.
Debbie Correen. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. And the name of that organization, one more time, that you were just talking about?
That's Whiria Te Moka.
Whiria Te Moka. Cool. Awesome. Cool. I want to be able to pump those, promote some of the awesome work that's being done, because I guess in this space, we could sit in the problem, and it is a problem, but we've also got to acknowledge that even in the limited resources that communities have, people try and figure things out. They try and use what little they have to be able to offer that help, and we want to be able to acknowledge the resilience that's already there. But we also want to be able to build on that. And so I'm hoping when Charles does the run and we do raise more than 10K, that first trainer will be able to sort of plant is one up there in Kaitaia. And
there was one other one I wanted to share with you, which is the Te Huku Iwi Development Trust.
Okay.
And they've come out of a discussion that Minister of Social Development years ago came up here and basically gave the 5 iwi a blank piece of paper and said, does it develop what you want for the North? Okay. And out of that now is the Te Huku Iwi Development Trust, which is across iwi about making our community stronger, and looking at how can we make the supports, and not just the supports, but the organisations in the North more cohesive and stuff. So it's still in early stages. I've been asked to be a part of that, which has been really great. But they're working, it's working with choose of a whole lot of different organisations that are in the community about how we can, as a community, become stronger, more resilient, more self-reliant, and improve awesome. Our community and our people.
That's cool. That's awesome. Cool. And we'll definitely make sure their logo is put on this video as well, so that people know who they are, because it's important to be able to get behind all the initiatives that are being activated in Kaitaia. So as we start to draw to an end, we do want to acknowledge the times that we're in, and they're pretty stressful times. With lockdowns being, on and off, just all the stuff around the vaccinations and all of that stuff. And you can kind of really see the stress that it's putting on people. And so I just wanted to, just as we sort of go throughout the country, go throughout the regions, is maybe you might have some wellness tips you might want to share, just to be able to add to people's kete or add to people's toolbox, because it's important that, to acknowledge sometimes some of our coping strategies don't work. And so if they're not, maybe I can borrow some from Kaitaia, and sort of add to the current kete that I have, because maybe they might work better than what I have right now. And so it is about us really working together as life supporting communities, or a life supporting nation, in the midst of all of this that's around us. So what are your thoughts around, you know, that, and any wellness tips you'd like to share?
Yeah, well, a lot of my coping strategies I had, they kind of went out the window, because a lot of what I did for myself to rejuvenate, rebuild, you know, you can't pour from an empty cup. So what are you going to do to fill your cup back up? It became really difficult for me, and I had to rethink. I couldn't go for drives. I couldn't go for beach walks. I couldn't go and get a facial if I wanted it. I couldn't go, you know, I love to take photos and stuff. So there was a lot of stuff that I couldn't do because we were locked at home. So I've watched some stuff online. Like, I love to watch funny things. I love watching Michael McIntyre. He's such an idiot. You know, I like watching funny, like, our family've got a lot of dry dad joke humour, so we share jokes. My mum texts me every night with a stupid meme or something, and I send her stupid ones back. I know during the lockdown our team had a Friday quiz, and we always had a theme, so we always dressed up, which was great, and it was something to look forward to. I had a funny bubble. There was myself and my mum who live on our own, and then I had my neighbours in their bubble, so we were kind of this wiggly bubble. But we would do, let's have a really nice dinner. Let's have a really nice dinner. Pork roast is $6.99 a kilo. Let's go and get one, and let's, you do the veggies and I'll do the thing, and we dressed up, and we did that a couple of times, and we've done. But then, you know, I would try and go for a walk. But I know that there is a lot of anxiety around people going for walks at the moment. Particularly if you know, for you guys who are in Auckland, there's a lot of people out and about now. There's a lot of fear and anxiety, whether you are aware of it or not in yourself. So that even a walk down to the petrol station to get your milk or whatever it is to get is better than not going out the door. And it's better being out in the air than staying at home. I mean, I love home. I love being at home and that, but I did find when I went for a little weenie walk that it was great. But I also switched off my devices. I made sure I switched off my devices and tried to do some reading every day as much as I could. That's awesome. Those are just a few things.
Thank you for that. Those are very good tips, and you're right. We have to adapt to our circumstances, and I think those tips that you've shared, those wellness tips that you've shared, are really helpful because they're free. You can do them at any time. You know, and you know, you can choose where you walk. And so for those who are thinking of doing the Life Walks, Life Talks challenge, here's some advice all the way from Kaitaia that you don't have to do any 5K walks. You can just go to the petrol station, go to the shop, incorporate your Life Walks, Life Talks that way. But it's definitely doable. And we've got people in the background sneezing. That's wonderful.
I did a little circuit out on my veranda. So I walked up and down the steps in the veranda, and I made myself do it like for about 10 minutes. And so I was going up and down the steps and all around, and I did that a few times just because I didn't want to leave the property. And so you know, I put a timer on and made myself get a little bit up and down and things, and you feel good. You do, and see the adaptability that you've had to I guess, to the situation, to the walking, that you could still do that stuff within the confines of your house. And so we jokingly say to Charles, because he's got a route, but we were like, hey, why don't you just run around your house 42k, do your 42k run around your house? And he's like, no. But he's definitely got a route that he's you know, putting in place with some supports around that, and we look forward to hearing from him. But I really want to acknowledge your sharing today, acknowledge that we've been able to hear sort of where Kaitaia is, what the needs of Kaitaia are, what your heart is, Helen, you know, what you'd like to see happen more. And the hope is that from this fundraiser,
from the Life Walks, Life Talks campaign, that we'll be able to see something happen in Kaitaia sooner than later, so that you can see that dream come to life. Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you. So on that note, any last words, Helen, before we clock out and let you go back to your next Zoom meeting, and sort of give everyone their lunchtime time?
No, I just think, you know, a coffee or something with someone just to say, how are you going, is great. And if you can't talk about it with someone, you can share a really encouraging picture on your Facebook page. Because who wants to see COVID and stuff through their scroll? Let's make some beautiful images and share some beautiful images or a really inspirational quote. Because believe it or not, you know, even if you read it, it's like a, oh yeah, you know,
I love that.
I like that idea. I don't think you can see, but on my wall I've got little pictures like this, which I've got all around the office and I've printed off, and you know, that kind of stuff. They're just reminders, little visual reminders. It's really important.
Yeah, that's awesome, Helen. That's awesome. And we definitely need strategies around keeping the oneness of New Zealand together. And so those little things make a difference. Those little things make a difference. And the hope is that as people watch this video today, that something ignites in them to be able to contribute to that narrative, that we are one nation and that we've got to have each other's backs and we've got to keep each other well as well.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Thank you so much, Helen, for your time. And we'll definitely come back and see you again as we start to roll into our other parts of the AOK lunchtime chats.
That sounds awesome. Thank you. Take care in Auckland.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.